Things change all the time and Turo is no exception. So in the year and a half I've been a Turo host, there has been so many different policy changes on Turo that personally I think changes the amount of profit you can do as a Turo host. There has been a lot of people that actually leave the platform due to some of these changes and some people who just end up staying. But in this video, I have 5 policies that recently changed that you should know as a Turo host, especially for this upcoming year 2022. Now, those who are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Fernandoherrera and I'm an all-star host on Turo. I have over 120 trips of experience so far, and I post weekly on my channel pretty much sharing some knowledge of what I'm learning as I go with Turo and my specific cars, and I just do videos to share the knowledge with you guys. So if you think this is something that you would be interested in, please consider subscribing. Also, please help me by clicking that like button. It really helps my videos a lot, especially because I guess YouTube determines by how many people watch the video, and smash that like button. I guess that's how it promotes it or suggests it to other people. Also, if you're just starting on Turo, I do have another video that it's called The Things You Must Have as a Turo Host. I'll strongly recommend you watch that video first because it would just make more sense. Finally, before we begin, if you're a person like me that just likes to skip to the points that you're mostly interested in, I put some chapters here on YouTube so that you can just simply skip or forward to whatever topic interests you the most. But with that being said, let's go ahead and start with our number 1 policy, and that's the smoking policy. So for those of you who don't know what the smoking policy is, obviously when you rent your car out and somebody smokes on your car, then Turo reimburses you for a cleaning fee, and that cleaning fee is then billed to that specific customer. Normally, Turo would allow you to bill a $50 smell smoking fee, where even if there's no evidence that someone smoked, but there's just the smell of smoke, Turo would reimburse you or allow you to charge $50 for it. If there was evidence, it would be $150. Well, now that has completely changed. So the $50 smell smoke fee will go away, or has gone away. And the $150 smoke fee, if there's evidence of someone smoking, has been increased from $150 to $250. I personally do feel this affected me directly as a host because especially in Las Vegas, you have a lot of people who are just coming in, partying and smoking all types of things, and oftentimes they would do a very good job because, you know, the Tesla specifically, it's a higher end car. People have money to just go and detail it and maybe wash it very well. So people would return it clean, but just the smell would be there. And that's where the $50 would somehow help me out by either buying ozone machines or trying to, you know, do a full interior cleaning. And it's just an incentive for me to say, okay, it's okay, I'm getting $50, right? So with that gone, it was a bit of a bummer, and I did have some guests who, again, I haven't been able to charge them for the smoking smell. However, the increase from $150 to the $250 has actually proven to be a little bit better. And simply because I once read in a Facebook group thread where, you know, there was a post and somebody said, look, there's always evidence, no matter how well they clean it, there will always be evidence that if someone truly smoked. So with that in mind, every time I get a car that just smells like someone smoked in it, I'll look very, very hard under the seats, in the middle of the seats, in the dashboard. I'll look everywhere to see if I can find some evidence that there was some smoking in there. And most of the time, I'm actually surprised to tell you that I do find evidence. There's, you know, ashes, or there's something that they just missed. And that's the picture that I'll use with Turo. And then Turo will now reimburse me $250. So again, I guess in a way, $250 is much better than the $150 before. And because, you know, $150 is completely bad. I mean, you can't even wash a car, detail your car. And then you do have some guests who give you a less or bad review because the car was smelling like smoking. Now, something that does prevent people from smoking in my car, I do send them a pre-written text before they check in that if I find out that they smoke, I'll charge them $350 in the card on file. They don't know that I don't have access to their card on file, and they don't know that the policy is actually $250. So far, Turo and nobody has told me anything that about, you know, this is deceiving or illegal. But just the $350 fee is enough to not give me any smoke issues for the last, you know, 50 trips. The next policy, or number 2 policy we're going to be talking about, is cleaning policy. And so before, it was pretty much a bit of a gray area with cleaning policies, especially because if a guest would grab your car, then the host has the expectation to get the car just in the exact same shape that you handed it over. But let's say somebody went over to the Grand Canyon, got a bit of bugs, when traveling, returns the car like that, well, then there would be hosts who would bill the guest for the cleaning fee, maybe $20, $25. And then some guests would feel a bit unfair because it would be like, that's unfair. I didn't even get the car dirty. It was just a small stain or small sand on the carpet or just some bugs on the bumper. So it seems to be that Turo was having a lot of issues. And I personally can speak for myself. It was always a very awkward conversation trying to bill your customer for a cleaning fee, especially if it was something small. But in cleaning fees, I did used to make anywhere between $15 to $25 each time there would be those little instances, and most of the time people would just pay them. Well, now cleaning fees have completely been obliterated. You can no longer charge cleaning fees, and Turo has specifically asked hosts to consider the cleaning fees within their rates, which of course nobody's going to do that. Now, the only cleaning fee you can charge is a $150 cleaning fee, and that is if it's absolutely a horrible scenario where they truly destroyed your car in a sense that there's mud all over inside, or there's like insane amount of mud. And I'll put some pictures here of what Turo would determine an appropriate time of billing a cleaning fee. But guess what? You rented the car, it rained before, if it rained, then you could technically tell the guest, hey, I'm gonna have to charge a cleaning fee. Well, now that's not gonna be possible, which again, I personally wasn't a big fan of charging guests either way, and we all knew that those hosts who were nickel and diming guests ultimately, were providing a not very nice experience. Because let's face it, if you're in vacation, you're renting a car, the last thing you want to do is wash a car after you're done with it, right? You just hand it over, and then you don't want to be dealing with, oh, you owe me 10, 15, 20, $25 for, simple cleanup. The third policy I want to talk today about is the mileage overage policy. So this is a fairly older update. It was a more of a 2020 newer or earlier 2021 policy, but I was able to get that experience before. And so before, the way it would work is if you have a car where you say, hey, you know what, you can only drive 100 miles per day with my car. And if you go to 101 miles, you could determine yourself how much you want to charge per mile overcharge. Well, it turns out that Turo say, hey, you know what, enough is enough. There's hosts that are billing guests, a crazy amount of dollars for mile overage. And so a lot of people were actually pretty happy with this specific policy. But ever since Turo removed that, now Turo assigns the value of the mileage overage. Well, a lot of people seem to have left the platform. And I personally kind of agree with this, especially if you have a vehicle that you're leasing. I mean, you have to comply with the dealership and just keeping your car at a certain mileage rate. And if you have someone going to, from Las Vegas to New York, then suddenly you already spent what you should have spent in 3 months, and you're not even going to get reimbursed for those miles as the dealership's going to bill you. So something to keep in mind. In my personal case, I would just recommend, I upgraded all my vehicles to unlimited mileage. Yes, I do get some guests that put heavy amounts of miles in the cars, but then I do get those guests who honestly just go to the hotel and then just come back and return the car. So, it really averages out at the end of the day. You won't be getting just those heavy drivers, but you will also be getting some of those non-heavy drivers that, can compensate for the heavy drivers. Policy number 4 that we're going to be talking about is inspections. And this is actually a fairly new policy change, but just like Uber and Lyft, your vehicle will be now required to get or pass an annual inspection. If you have already an existing vehicle on Turo, then I believe it's going to be due by March or April of 2022. But if you're thinking and adding a new vehicle, you're going to be required to provide a passing inspection, a 52-point inspection from a mechanic or from just some shop. If you've done it or seen it, how it works with Uber and Lyft, it's exactly the same way. If you haven't, it just pretty much, it's an inspection form that someone will check, a mechanic or a shop will check that your headlights are working, your horn is working, everything it's kind of working, so that I guess Turo makes sure that your car is in working condition, or an appropriate car working condition for their guest or for our guest. Things to keep in mind for this policy is that the inspection does not have to be performed by an ASE technician, which is the highest certification or one of the highest certifications for an auto technician. So that's good. So as I said before, any new vehicle that you add to your Turo account will be required that you provide a vehicle inspection The good thing is that you are given 3 months to submit that inspection, so you have some time. Also, this is an annual inspection, so you will be required to submit a new inspection every year. And then at the time of doing this video, there is a partnership with &Go of Goodyear and Turo, where &Go is providing complimentary inspections to those states where they operate. So I'll try to see if I can find a link below, but if not, I'll put a screenshot or something of what I got. And I think this could be very helpful if you're already an existing host, because you could save some money, maybe not a lot, but some money with these complimentary inspections. The fifth policy I want to talk about is requesting or changing trip start times or end times. This one is a little bit confusing, but before, Turo would not allow you to change or do any modifications of the trip after it had been finished. Well, now guests or hosts can actually request change even if the trip has finished. This is helpful because sometimes the guests simply, the flight got delayed, they want to keep the car a little bit later. You don't have to go through Turo's customer service and all that stuff to simply extend the trip. You can simply just submit it on the app, and between you and the guest can resolve that little issue. So guests can now change start times or end times up to 6 hours in advance or afterwards, which is quite flexible. The policy, I personally don't think it does any harm, so I think it's more good than harm. Also, a little tip here, guys, at least I didn't know this when I was just starting on Turo, but if your guest wants to start the trip 30 minutes earlier or finish the trip 30 minutes after, as long as it's within that 30-minute threshold, then you don't need to submit any trip changes. Turo does complement some flexibility time in there, so your guest has up to 30 minutes after the end time to return the car without any needed changes, or you could check in your guest earlier, 30 minutes earlier, if that's what's more convenient. Now, I know I said 5 policies and that's it, but I'm going to launch you guys a little extra because while I was doing some research, I found this policy that I personally wasn't aware. And when I checked when was this policy published, it was actually in 2018. So I thought it was interesting that, I didn't know about this policy, but it was published a long time ago. So we could call it that I'm pulling this policy from the archives. And the policy name, it's called the Flight Delay Cancellation Policy. This policy allows your guests to be fully reimbursed without any fees or, I guess, cancellation fees if their trip is canceled or delayed, in this case their flight. Because let's be honest, we've all been in an airport where our flight is delayed, and the last thing we want to be worried about is worrying about, oh my god, my car is going to be canceled, my reservation and this and that. So I think this is something that I didn't know, but apparently guests have that ability where Turo is absolutely flexible, where if a flight is delayed or canceled, they're going to get reimbursed in the case that you want to cancel the trip. I personally never cancel my trips if somebody tells me, hey, my flight's delayed 2, 3, 4 hours. Since most of the time I do self check-ins, they can just walk into the car, check in by themselves, and then off they go. But again, I know that Turo sometimes doesn't like that because it's kind of unclear who's responsible at that time for the vehicle. Also, this is important for you, Turo hosts, because if the guest does cancel a trip due to cancellation or flight cancellations or delays, then Turo may be able to reimburse you up to 1 day of your bookings if you show some sort of good faith in trying to accommodate the guest as much as possible. But well, there you guys have it. Those are 6 policies, 6 technically 5 or a 1 bonus policy that I shared with you guys today about how to pretty much expect a Turo to be in 2022. Again, I know things change, so just keep that in mind. Also, what do you guys think? Is there any policy that I missed maybe that would have been good to be covered in this video? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. And like I said, feel free to subscribe if you enjoy my content. Smash that like button. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.